Hey team, welcome to Amber Oaks Ranch. Today we're building another chicken tractor. Here's the finished product. This will be generation number 3. As you can see, I make the base out of standard metal building C-purlins. This is a 4-inch C-purlin. They come in 20-foot and 25-foot lengths. The long length there, I got, it's gonna be, well, the whole thing is gonna be 10 by 12. So I bought one 25-footer, cut that in half, and you got 12 feet. And then the 20-footer you cut in half, and then you got your 10 feet edge. You'll also need 3 cattle panels. This is gonna be the hoop structure that goes over the top. I've already welded these together. You can see here my ugly welds, my farm boy welds. This will go over top of that base structure, and then you'll basically have to use some cattle panels to make the ends, put in a door, etc., and you'll see all of that later. Now, I've said I've made this, this is generation number 3. You could make this base out of wood, and I did that on Gen 1. It's out in the pasture somewhere, rotting away. So, as you're moving this thing, these corners are under quite a bit of stress. And no matter how much I put in gusset plates and everything else, but they still just didn't last with the wood. Also, when you hoop that thing up, when you make it into a hoop, it puts a lot of stress in the middle here, trying to unspring itself. So I just found that the C-purlins are way better. I've been using generation number 2 for, probably 3 years now, holding up really well. Here we go with Gen 3, which is not much different except for this corner joint, and I'll talk about that in a second. Now this corner joint, as you can see, I've mitered one end. So on Gen 2, I mitered both ends. And why I've done this here is this is going to enable me to get up underneath, put a bead of weld right here on the bottom side, and give me 2 weld locations. Gen number 2 is holding up really well with just a solid miter joint, and I just thought this would be a little bit better and save me some cutting with the angle grinder. So let's go take a look at the bottom. Okay, here we are underneath. Again, this will enable me to put a bead of weld here. You do have to cope out a bit in the longer piece for the bottom of the C-purlin to sit square. It's either that or you cope out, well, I guess it would be this end, the whole length, but this is a shorter cut. So I'm gonna weld that up, make the base frame, and we'll come back and take a look. All right, here's a quick shot of the top. Again, I'm not a welder. It's kind of challenging welding this thin of material, but got the job done. So I'm gonna flip this whole thing. As you can see, I've stuck the axle on here. This will enable me to drag this across the pasture. 5/8 inch all thread, a couple of nuts to secure that in place. I prefer these solid rubber wheels as opposed to pneumatic wheels. So the 5/8 inch all thread fits in there just fine. And it's best to weld this on, put your nuts in place prior to putting your hoop on, because it's hard to get in there and weld those nuts in place. So we'll move on to the next step, putting the hoop on. All right, so one of the great mysteries here is how you take 16-foot of cattle panel, 3 of them together, and fold it up into a hoop so that you can get over a 10-foot structure. So the way I do it is I take these ratchet straps, hook one in the middle, like that. It's that easy. So I pre-measured this across the base. All right, as you can see, I've moved the frame to the ground and I've brought the hoop in over top of it, and I'm securing it to the frame. Let's go take a look here at the side. So you can see, using a combination of the ratchet straps and some clamps, I am securing this to the base. I've switched to MIG. I had run out of, didn't realize it, but my nitrogen bottle was empty. I think I have a leak in my regulator. And it's Memorial Day weekend, so I had to get some fluxless or flux core wire. And this is really the right tool. That arc welding the very thin sheet metal and this weld wire or bull wire cattle panels can be a challenge. It's much easier with a MIG gun. So I'll continue to secure the bottom of this and then go to the other side, lift the whole thing up on the back up on the sawhorses, and then secure it really good. So once all of these things are tied together, it's a lot less flimsy, but in this construction stage, everything is pretty wobbly. All right, as you can see, we've got it up on the sawhorses. The hoop is securely attached. I've gone along, and probably every other one of those or so would be enough. Put a little weld. This will all, like I said before, become more rigid, but if you want to, you can use that diagonal strap to kind of adjust where the center piece is at. But starting to come together. So I like to bend these ends over like this, just so I don't have to grind them all off, and maybe it provides a little bit more rigidity. So what I typically do is I just grab a wrench, and as I'm holding it against the other hoop that's going to be welded, it gets hot, so it's easy to bend. Something like this. Simple as that. Simple as that. All right, here you're looking at the back piece installed. I've cut off or ground off the sharp corners, welded it all together. As you can see, I kind of cobbed together the top piece there. That's just to keep any owls from flying in. So I just took some scraps and closed up that gap a little bit. You're gonna wanna line, well, depending on your predator pressure, wrap the bottom couple of feet of this in chicken wire is what I do. And then over the top, there's a tarp, so you don't really have to worry about that. The tarp is provides some shade and protection from the rain. So we'll move on to the front end. Again, this back, as you can see, there's no nuts here for the axle. I only have an axle on my door end. I pull it from this side only. I'll grab a clip from one of my other videos and show you how I do that. You can put wheels on both sides and then just move one end to the other if you wanted to take this thing in reverse. I move mine only in one direction. So I have my wheels down at that end on the door side. But definitely if you want wheels on both ends, it's easy to do. All right, we'll move on to the opposing side there where I have my door that I walk through. So it takes a little bit longer to put that together. All right, the next order of business is to put the door on the front. So this is just simple construction using pressure treated 1x4s. You can see I have some gussets up here to help reinforce it. It sits right on the edge of the wire. I did secure this to the wire. Let's see if I can get that in here with a staple. Where's the staple? There we go, with a staple. So I pre-drill the hole through, bring the staple, punch the staple through, and then bend the tabs over on this side, and that just gives it some rigidity and ties it in with the wire hoop. Use some leftover hardware cloth to make the door. Just some pieces that I had laying around. I use these Simpson ties here. I find them to be very helpful. That in conjunction with some gussets here and there to provide some additional stability. I use these spring hinges. So you can see here, screen door hinges. They'll automatically close the gate, which is handy when you're carrying something in and out and you don't want your laying hens to go in with the broilers in my case. But it's also good if you just happen to forget about it. It helps keep the door closed and keep the chickens safe and keep them from running around the yard. So now we're gonna put in the panels on left and right side and then wrap the whole thing in hardware cloth or chicken wire around the bottom just to make sure no predators can get in, and the chicks, when they're small, they can't get out. So I typically move my broilers from the brooder out to the chicken tractor at about 3 weeks of age. Well, exactly 3 weeks of age if I can find a good weather spot. And so they're pretty small when they get started. Of course, they're close to 10, 11 pounds live weight. Maybe not that big. 8 pounds live weight when they're finished. So, but when they're getting started, they're probably less than a pound. So they can squeeze through some pretty small holes. So we'll get the sidewalls put on, and then we'll start wrapping with some hardware cloth or chicken wire, whatever I have around. And that'll just about wrap it up. Oh, that and the tarp over the top. All right, I brought the chicken tractor outside. Right now what I'm doing is I'm putting on this poultry netting chicken wire around the bottom 2 feet. All I've done here is I've hooked on the wire underneath of these ends of the cattle panel, and then I use a lacing wire up here to pull it taut and keep it high, and then somewhere in the midpoint I use these little I guess they're called hog rings, but you could put lacing wire here and tie it as well. Now the tarp, once we get a tarp on it, it'll come down basically to about 6 inches off of the bottom, and all of that stuff above it will be covered except on the ends. And I'll show you the finished product here. So on the ends, it goes up 2 feet. I've done them where I've covered all of this up here, but I've not really had any problems with aerial predators getting in there. So on this one, I'm just gonna do the bottom 2 feet. So again, we're just lacing it across the top, pulling it tight down here at the bottom, and then I'll go in and I'll put some wire in intermittently just to keep it tight and secure. All right, folks, here's the finished product. Got the tarp on it. You can see on the back side, or front side, depending on which way you look at it, I've got the wheels. That white PVC hose is my waterer. Let's go in, take a look. So I've got nipples hanging from there, and that's how I water the chicks. Nice and roomy in here. That's a dolly. That's how I move it. I just lift up on the leading edge, pull it along, and then at the back wheels here roll along the ground. Works pretty good. We put some chicks in it here later today. There's a couple others in the background there. Need to move them in line. Had to mow. Grass was too tall for the baby chicks. So we do a batch of 100 in each one of these. This will be my first batch of 400, which is why I constructed this new one. So I hope this helped you out. Give it a try. I think it's a really good design. This is my 3rd generation here, so incorporated a lot of improvements in this one. I also have a video walking through how I load the chicks, etc. So that might be helpful to you. Subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it. Have a good day.